The rupee continues to reel under pressure for a fourth day in a row, hitting a fresh 11-month low. The new 10-year bond yield as well has risen quite sharply to a 2-week high. Poonam Sani joins us now with more analysis on how the money market has been panning out. Poonam.
Well, Ashu, clearly the rupee is at the 11-month low. It's a fresh low that we are seeing, and as we speak, it's down nearly 5% on a month-to-date. It remains the worst performing Asian currency on an entire 1-month basis, and clearly it is the dollar index which continues to remain firm, and it is impacting rupee. And also we are seeing weak domestic markets, which is impacting rupee. We saw comparatively weaker GDP growth, although the GDP growth today was in line with the expectations, but clearly the momentum in the GDP remains weak, and concerns on the current account deficit and trade deficit also are clearly weighing on the rupee. So poor fundamentals as of now is weighing on the rupee. In terms of the bond yields, the market had actually already factored in 25 bips rate cut clearly, and slightly more than that, at least from the trend that we saw in the bond yields. But the new 10-year bond yield, which was at 7.16% in the last 2 weeks, is up. It's up to 7.22% as of now, and clearly it seems that the markets are now, the bond yields at least state that there is a possibility that we see lower than expected rate cuts in the June monetary policy meet. Let's see, we will really have to see how the Reserve Bank of India actually reads into the entire the liquidity deficit condition, which remains high, as well as how the RBI reads into the rupee data and the CAD data going ahead.
Jamal Maklai, CEO at Maklai Financial Services Limited. Thanks so much, Jamal, for chatting with us on ET now. In fact, it's a 16-month low that we're seeing for the rupee. What's causing the relentless weakness, so to say, today? Do you think it's the GDP data that's come in as a bit of a surprise? Because, on the other macro front, the fiscal deficit number has come in ahead of what the market was expecting. 4.8 is definitely 4.9 is definitely a pleasant surprise. What's causing the weakness, according to you?
Well, I think actually the situation is quite sensitive, right? And the rupee has weakened today despite the fact that the dollar weakened overseas. The primary force that had been driving the rupee down, the previous 10 days or so, was dollar strength. Now, even though that has reversed, the rupee has weakened further. My only thinking is, sentiment is very delicate, and I think Mr. Subbarao's comment, Dr. Subbarao's comments yesterday, saying things are pretty bad, broadly, to summarize what he said. Perhaps that is what, made people a little more nervous. It's clearly it's a difficult situation, because, okay, the dollar is correcting overseas. That should give us a little breath, but it hasn't done that. So when the dollar rally starts up again, the rupee could weaken further. My sense, though, is that we may, see RBI coming in, or maybe they let it go right now and come in on Monday if the rupee remains weak.
Jamal, how much more weakness do you see for the currency? Because we've already lost a good 5% on the currency in the month of May alone.
Well, the reality is that if the dollar keeps strengthening, let's say over the next 6-8 months as I expect it will, the rupee will have to weaken. See, the plus, the downside of dollar strength is a weaker rupee, but there is a plus side of dollar strength, a very big plus side for India, which is that commodity prices will also come down. But the impact of that on the currency, when people will begin to say, oh God, the CAD is coming down. As you pointed out, the fiscal deficit is a little bit under control. So there's both plus and minus. Right now, the minus is winning because sentiment is still negative. Right? So, and the same circumstances, if sentiment were positive, the rupee might have strengthened. So it's very important that the government take some strong steps to try to improve sentiment. And all of us need to work to improve sentiment. I mean, that's really what it takes.
Jamal, we'll leave it at that. Thanks for joining in with that perspective on the currency market.